Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and it's my honor to convene this daily conversation around all things COVID-19. We discuss different aspects of the pandemic, the health, financial, and inequality crises. This is episode 195. We've been on the air for 195 days in a row. No weekends, no holidays, no vacation since New York and large parts of America shut down for the virus. Today, we are starting a series of conversations that are going to be produced with my students at Stony Brook School of Journalism. They will be producing several episodes of the show over the next couple of weeks as part of their digital innovations in journalism course. This is going to be lots of fun, lots of learning for them and for us and for the audience. The students who have produced this particular episode are Jake Basile, Cumella, and Michael Panagiotopoulos. Today, our topic is college sports under COVID-19. And our guests are Patrick Patti, an assistant trainer at Stony Brook Athletics, and Allyson Kraff, who is a Stony Brook swim team athlete. And you'll meet both of them in just a minute. In the meantime, please tag and share with your friends so that they can watch and participate and ask questions. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Hi, folks. I'm Sree Sreenivasan, and I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism. And I am so grateful to everyone for helping with this show. Making it to 195 days is not easy. We've been able to do it because of our amazing audience and our amazing producers, sponsors, and everyone else who is part of this team. We're so grateful. Let's tell you a little bit about the show. In our first 195 episodes, we've had more than 1 million viewers, 129 million social impressions, 347 guests, 202 of them have been women, from 65 cities and 17 countries, including the chief scientist of the World Health Organization. You can find all our archives at youtube.com/Sreenet, and we're in partnership with Scroll Global and Scroll.in. Our sponsors, I'll tell you about a little later, but we're very grateful to them. And we're also grateful to our producers, Rose Horowitz at Rose Horowitz 31 and Vandana Menon, Vandana_Menon. They've been on this ride with me for 195 days. It feels like we should mark 195 as a big anniversary or daily milestone, but then we have 200 coming up this weekend. Thank you all for being here. We're live right now on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. Please find me on those channels and please hit share so that your friends and family can join us. And we'd love to know where you're watching from. Post in the comments and we'll bring those comments on. We love to get questions for the students and for our guests. So are you ready to talk about sports? Are you ready to talk about college sports in particular? But we can go in any direction you like. We want to start by bringing our guests onto the camera, and to join us are Patrick Patti, assistant trainer, and Allyson Kraff from the Stony Brook swim team. So let me bring them on and say hello to both of them. Hi, folks. Let's make sure that you are unmuted, and thank you so much both for being here. Allyson, thank you, and thank you, Patrick. My first question is always, how are you? Where are you? And how are you and your family doing through the crisis? So we'll start with Allyson.
I'm doing well. I'm currently in my dorm room, back on campus because swimming is still going on. Been staying well. My family has luckily not been affected by COVID-19, so we're very lucky in that sense. We're just making sure that we can stay safe in these very trying times.
Thank you. And I'm sure we'll have lots of questions about swimming and participating in sports at this time. Thank you. Let's go to Patrick.
Oh, all is good here. I'm currently in Port Jeff Station. Just at home, where I live on Long Island, and all's well with me, all's well with my family.
Well, great to hear that. In a few minutes, we'll be joined by one of our students on the production side who is going to be asking you really tough questions, I'm sure. So I'm going to start us off a little bit on the easy side. Patrick, can you explain what is the current situation with athletics at Stony Brook, and how many sports are in season? What is the correct terminology right now? What would it have been like last year at this time versus this year? And walk us through that. I'll also show people the SBU athletics website, and then we'll go from there. Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, so this year it's pretty different. No sports are truly in season right now. Usually we'd have all the fall sports going. We'd have soccer's going, the volleyball going. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, these sports have been at least postponed. It's every school's a little different. Every conference is a little different. It's kind of what's making this such an interesting time in college sports, because you have some conferences that are going, some conferences that aren't. Some conferences are hoping that they can play fall sports in the spring. So it's kind of a conglomerate of a lot of different perspectives, I guess, or just a lot of different things going on. And every school's kind of taking it a little bit differently, and every conference is as well.
And how are the safety measures on campus for the staff and for the athletes?
I mean, again, we're following everything that's set forth by Stony Brook as a whole, by the state health department, the CDC. I mean, there's a lot of different guidelines that are given to us. The social distancing is, that key, the face, the masks. We're doing everything that, they're telling us to do, and for the health and safety of everyone on campus, of all of our athletes, and all the staff.
Excellent. Allyson, tell us about you and your swim career so far, and what year you're in, and how you're managing the training and practice and all of that.
So I'm currently a junior. I am a transfer to Stony Brook. I actually came in when Chris did, so that's how I met him. But I've been swimming for 13 years of my life now, and I will say that the past year of training has been the most challenging time, trying to figure out ways to stay in shape, not having access to the pool. Definitely made it a lot more challenging, but I was able to find ways to continue training, including just running. I was lucky to have a stationary bike in my house, but luckily Long Island was very early in coming back to reopen pools, so I was able to get back in a pool and start training again in June. So that is but just right now it's making sure that we don't have too many people in a lane at one time, and that we're still able to maintain the proper distance and wear our masks at all times when we're not actually in the pool.
Got it. Before I bring in Chris, our student who's going to ask questions, if I can ask Patrick, generally, what are the Sea Wolves? That's the mascot and the team name of Stony Brook. What are the sports that Stony Brook is known for traditionally, and these recent years?
I mean, again, being in the America East Conference, we try and be known in every single sport. I mean, I know women's lacrosse is frequently ranked top 10. That's a big sport for us. But again, we've got football, soccer, volleyball, lacrosse, swimming, tennis, track. I mean, we try and compete in every single sport.
That's great to hear, and I'm showing people the website. And so for those of you who just joined us, I am hosting a series of episodes over the next few weeks with the students of my Stony Brook Digital Innovations in Journalism course. And these are the people you see on screen are not those folks. These are guests that the students invited, and that a team of students each day will pick a different topic, and they will help produce it. Usually, at least one or two will come on stage to ask questions, and then that's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to bring on one of the students to ask questions. But before we do that, I just want to show everyone these comments as we get them from around the world. Jonathan's watching from Greenwich Village, so thank you. Jonathan has watched 195 episodes, so very grateful. Charles and Mary are watching from New Jersey, and Charles is not just watching, he's a sponsor of the show. His book, The Inventor in You, is one of our sponsors, so thank you, Charlie. Virgil says, Florida, thanks to Jake Basile. And Jake is one of our producers. And Maheen is saying, excited to see how this college sports episode goes. The three students, Jake, Michael, and Chris, who volunteered, were pioneers in this, as are our two guests. So everyone's not exactly sure how this is going to go, but it's going great already. Cherry's watching from Kerala in India. And Brian says, Sree, another great show. Brian, thank you for watching on LinkedIn. One of the things I want to show people is how there's Twitter, there's YouTube, there's Facebook, and there's LinkedIn all in a row. So people can comment from around the world and bring this in. Neil Parekh, who is the VP of Events and Comms at Digimentors, my digital, social, and virtual events consulting company, says hello, and great to see students are featured here. And my mom's watching in Kerala, India. So greetings, Amma, love you. And let me now, with that, bring in Chris Cumella, who is one of our producers and also is a guest host. So here's Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hello, Sree. Great to see you.
Great to have you here. I see your website is there, chrisforyou.com, and thank you so much for being here. Before I put the three of you on stage and I step away as you ask questions, how are you, where are you, and how have you been handling the pandemic?
I'm A-OK right now. I'm currently entering in my senior year, and I'm located on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, represents. Things have been okay so far, considering these past few months. I'm in a very considerate position right now. My family is safe and healthy, and so am I. Granted, with what's going on in the world right now, I'd say that's enough to ask for.
It really is. Welcome, and over to you. We'll let you go for about 15, 20 minutes with our guests. And thank you for being a pioneer along with Chris and Michael. And now here are Patrick and Allyson with Chris.
Thank you very much, Professor. Mr. Patti, Ms. Kraff, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know that you have very busy things that you could be doing, and tonight you are spending it with me on a talk show. For that, it's wonderful to have you both. Thank you so much for being guests tonight.
Thank you.
So I want to begin by taking a sort of casual approach to this. And I wanted to ask you both, in just one word, could you describe Stony Brook students during this pandemic? Either of you could start.
I'll let Allyson take this one. She is a student, so.
One word. I'd have to say hopeful, because right now we definitely are back on campus and hopeful that we'll be able to make it as all the way through the semester. I've seen great precautions being taken on campus so far. Very minimal cases of COVID. So I would definitely say that hopeful is the right word to use right now.
And Allyson, you are currently one of the few students on campus who is on campus amid all of this that's happening right now. And you get to see these situations develop and unravel in front of you before the news reaches others who are currently at home, like myself. So you are on campus right now. Is there any particular way that you're feeling as opposed to learning from home?
I definitely do feel that it's different doing online classes while still being on campus. Like last semester was definitely easier to do online classes and be at home because it didn't feel like you should be getting out and going to class every day. But being at school, it does still feel like I should be waking up and going to my 9:15 class, but it's just online, so I have to get back from practice and just make sure that I am cleaned up enough that I am presentable on the web show, not like actually have to dress nice enough for class. So it's definitely different, and I definitely think it's a little bit harder to do classes themselves that are all online at school.
Would you say that you're managing your classes okay this semester so far, at least?
Yes, I would say that I'm still able to manage that. Luckily, we still have access to wonderful resources in the athletic department. If I need to go and do study hall, I can still go to the athletic building and use my study hall hours and get some quiet time and do studying and research papers and all of that. If I need just a change of place from where I'm doing my work right now, which is awesome.
I'm really glad to hear it, Allyson. That's wonderful. And Mr. Patti, I want to shift attention over to you real quick and ask you, in one word, could you describe Stony Brook students, or just Stony Brook as a whole, in one word during this pandemic?
I mean, I think a good word, and it's on all the math that they give out, is just strong. Like, you know, we kind of were, especially at the beginning of this, we were hit hard. The area was hit hard, and just, you know, the whole country, but like schools got shut down. I mean, it was the middle of the spring semester when everything essentially got shut down, and, you know, students were asked to go home. And then, you know, we've gone through a lot in the past year. So it's definitely been hard for everyone, everywhere essentially. But, you know, Stony Brook's going strong, and you know, we're doing what we need to do to keep it going and keep it strong.
Love to hear it. It's very heartful to hear an athletics trainer give such inspiring words, especially during these times. The words in which you both have given me, hopeful and strong, I think are two very considerable factors for the world of sports, especially for the young minds of college students entering that world. It's what's especially needed. That being said, I did want to ask both of you, real quick, your own interpretations from this question. What do you think are the overall chances that the situation regarding college sports is going to alleviate itself moving forward? That meaning we're not going to see as harsh situations where we have to clean the tools, we have to clean uniforms, we have to keep a distance between other players and ourselves. Do you yourself have a projected time in which things may return to a quote-unquote normal state?
Do you want to go first, Patrick, or do you want me to go?
I mean, I think that's the number one question. I think that's what we're all waiting for, to, you know, get an answer. I mean, unfortunately, I don't think it's there yet. I don't know if there is a true timeline. You know, I'm kind of listening to the same stuff that everyone else is listening in terms of that, you know. I mean, it's hard. If there was a timeline, you know, that'd make us all feel a little bit better. But I mean, that's the number one question during these times.
Wonderful. Allyson?
I will second Patrick on that, where I wish that we had a timeline, though I do believe that swimming will get back to quote unquote normal sooner than other sports such as football or basketball, since those are high contact sports. Because swimming is such a low contact sport, we're able to be in the chlorine, which kills the virus. I feel like the odds of swimming getting back to normal sooner are a lot more likely than a bunch of other sports, but I don't see us having big meets on deck with hundreds of people there soon, which is sad because I love those big meets.
But you trust the procedures that Stony Brook has been implementing
Yeah.
in order to make training safer?
Yes. Right now, I feel very safe with all the processes that Stony Brook's put in place, and they're doing everything that they can to try and get us back to a normal state.
I'm sure other student athletes will see optimism in that statement. Thank you. Patrick, I did, shifting gears over from that question, want to ask you in particular. Can you tell us about the training procedures that have been put in place this semester to keep the swimmers safe?
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of thinking, a lot of, effort in terms of, making sure that we have all those safety measures put in place. And again, keeping with that, the social distancing, the face masks, trying to keep everything so that we're keeping everyone safe, yet can still do everything that we can. I mean, it's not it's not ideal in terms of what we used to be able to do. There's just a lot more precautions put in place, but at the end of the day, we're getting people practicing, we're getting people in the weight room, so it's we're getting the athletes are on campus, and that's the major thing, is that they're still working hard, we're still working hard, and we're still here. I mean, it's
Of course, absolutely. In terms of your procedures that you've been putting in place, is there anything that you're looking to improve or renovate or maybe even remodel in the months or weeks coming forward?
I mean, we follow everything that, we follow all the guidelines that are essentially given to us by the health department, by the CDC, as they change their stance and as they learn more about the virus, then, that could affect what we do. But again, as we get further guidelines, we revamp according to those guidelines.
Certainly, certainly. Allyson, as a participant in the swimming team, you have a firsthand account of everything that happens. And so I also am bearing in mind that you are a transfer student here, just like myself at Stony Brook. We came in at the same time, spring of 2020. We entered into a new school completely unaware of what was going to happen in the months following. But that being said, only a few months after you had transferred to Stony Brook in 2020, how did your practices become affected around March and even as now?
So up until we got kicked off of campus, we were still practicing like normal. We were still having our postseason practices because champs had already finished. But towards the end, our coach was getting an idea that maybe something was going to happen, and was saying that if we wanted to go home and train with our club team, we could. And then spring break hit, and we got kicked off. And when I got home, I had to try and find a pool to swim at. No pools were open. So it led to a lot of running, a lot of cycling. And then eventually, once pools reopened, I was able to luckily get back into the pool. But training definitely was different during the summer, and I can still feel the difference in the training now, because right now we're just starting to get back into the pool. We've only been in the pool 4 times the total this year. The first 2 weeks of our team practices that we had, it was just conditioning. We were out on the field running, doing dry lands, making sure that everyone was getting back into shape before we were actually able to get into the pool, because the coach and the athletic department wanted to make sure that we were at least in some shape before that we would get into the pool. And now that we're in the pool together, we are just doing less yards. We're only in for about an hour, 15 minutes, as opposed to the hour to 2 hours that we're normally in. Just to make sure that right now it's just purely conditioning because of everything that's happened. Yeah.
I understand. It's a completely new transition into a world that we're inhabiting that's no longer the same as it was before. That being said, at least you have your teammates with you, and in that sense, do you feel as though there's a strong sense of unity amongst you all now, especially given the times that we're in?
Yes, I definitely would say that there is a strong sense of unity among our team. One thing that I noticed that we've started doing that we didn't do last year, as you know, Red Friday is a thing when it comes to Stony Brook, but the team is now planning what color shirts we wear to like each practice and each lift so that we feel more unified together, which is really fun to just be able to have that sense of togetherness among the team.
That's sweet. And for the viewers who, like myself, are not quite aware, briefly describe what Red Friday is.
Red Friday is just generally a day where people on Stony Brook are supposed to wear red because it's one of the school colors and it just shows the support for the school.
That's lovely. I didn't even know we had that in place. You'll have to give me a jersey sometime so that I can rep from home.
Yes.
Mr. Patti, I would love to get back to you real quick to ask you a particular question. Now you are noticing a complete change in rhetoric in terms of how we are handling our teams, our athletic divisions, and everything. Being one of the trainers at Stony Brook University, what are your expectations for students now? Make sure that you are off mute, Mr. Patti.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, the biggest expectation for them and for everyone is just to, follow the rules, because that's essentially what's keeping us going as athletes and across the United States, and across the world. Really, athletes are they're in the spotlight. So, if they set a good example, then other people will follow. So I think that's the main expectation of them, is to, do what they need to do. Again, it's not always easy, but at the end of the day, it's what's keeping us going.
Do you still feel as though you're able to train effectively given these changes that you've been experiencing? Or do you find that your training regimen amongst the swimming team has become a little more convoluted and difficult? I
mean, it's different, but as within athletics, you have to deal with adversity, and it's kind of one of the best parts about athletics is that you can, you never know what's coming to you, and you kind of just learn to adapt. And it's kind of the same thing here. It's, it might look a little different this year, but we're still going. The swimmers are still swimming, they're still conditioning. The other sports are still getting better.
Of course. As far as the school spirit goes amongst the athletic divisions, would you say that Allyson is correct when there's a strong sense of community amongst the Seawolves right now?
Oh, definitely. I mean, again, we're some of, I'd say a bigger part of the people on campus right now. So, we do have, when you choose to come to Stony Brook, you have that sense of pride. I mean, you're a Seawolf, so
you are a Seawolf.
And it's no different now. I mean, you're still repping the colors that you chose. And I mean, it's still, we have that unity, we have that pride in Stony Brook.
That's really wonderful to hear. Thank you so much. And thank you to both of you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you both. I'm going to pass it back now to my professor, Sree, who would like to in his own statements.
Thanks very much. I'm actually going to ask Patrick and Allyson. First of all, that was great, Chris. You were our first student guest host, so thank you for that. And thank you to both Patrick and Allyson. I'm going to give them both a little break. They can catch their breath, and we'll bring them back in a couple of minutes. Thank you, Allyson, and thank you, Patrick. I want to ask you, Chris. We've been talking a lot about Stony Brook. Let's go wide a little. What's happening in the world of sports right now? Give us some input about what are some of the big headlines, please. College sports.
Well, COVID may be slowing down our lives, but it's certainly not slowing down the throttle of college sports. As of right now, men and women's college basketball is starting on November 25th, and practices are going to be beginning October 24th in institutions across the nation. The max number of games that could be played in a season for college sports originally had been set at 31. Now, with COVID in place, the number has been substituted with 27. That being said, new playing models and practice procedures are being utilized for several colleges, and not just Stony Brook, but several SUNYs and several New York colleges alone have put whole new procedures in place to keep their students and their staff aligned and make sure that everything is safe and still efficient. As far as hockey goes, the 11 Division I men's and women's hockey teams have had conferences that have been delayed due to the impact of COVID. Therefore, each individual conference will reschedule their plans and give us updates at a later time. It sounds as though each conference is going to be put on individually.
Thank you, Chris. That's great. Tell us what we'll find on chrisforyou.com.
So you have probably seen under my picture, I have linked a website named Chris For You. Chris For You serves as my personal resume and website, primarily for employers. If you're watching, hello. Which showcases my extracurriculars that I have participated in, my streak being on deans and honors lists in 2 of my institutions in which I have transferred from, and as well as my other journalistic skills and participations that I have undergone throughout many years, which has been a lot of fun, a lot of great experience, and I would certainly qualify this as one of them. It's an honor to be here with you tonight, sir.
Thank you very much, Chris. What are your tips for tomorrow's students who are going to be doing their own episode with their own topic?
Prepare, prepare, prepare. For any assignment, it's a universal code. You have to have a script and a layout ahead of time. Otherwise, everything crumbles underneath you. Building a pedestal with your assignments is, like I said, universal. You have to have a procedure in place to make sure that your symmetry with your teammates, with your own role is perfect, and that you're prepared for if anything goes wrong.
Sean, your classmate, says, I'm making a public bet that Chris will be the next David Muir, who is, of course, the anchor of the World News Tonight show on ABC News. So that's high compliment from a classmate. We talk in our class about supporting each other, and we talked about it with athletics. It matters in journalism as well. Thank you, Chris, and we'll see you later, and we'll see you in class tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Professor. It's been a great talking to you.
Thanks. Wasn't that fun to have a student here? He was very good, as were his producers the producers who worked with him, Jake and Michael. Now I'm going to bring back Allyson and Patrick in a minute and just talk a little bit more with them. What are your questions about college athletics? What's it like to be a college athlete? We will continue that conversation with Allyson and Patrick. We just do want to thank our sponsors for making all of this possible. We want to start with nonbelievable.com. Divinely delicious cookies on a mission. Each handcrafted cookie provides a meal to those in need. One cookie equals one meal. 20% off with the code SREE. We're also grateful to Charles Cunnincarroll for The Inventor in You, a step-by-step guide to your first invention, by Charles, a developer of more than 80 patents, at Inventor Charles and guidetoinnovation.com. Please check out his work and his book. He'll give you lots of great tips. And then we also want to thank our friends at Muckrack Academy for creating Fundamentals of Social Media, a free on-demand certification course that you can take. More than 4,000 folks have taken this course, and so can you. I learned a lot putting it together, and you get this nice certificate like this, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. So thank you very much to our sponsors. And now let me bring back on stage Allyson and Patrick. And thank you both for being here. Thank you for your continued help with this episode, but also for being great ambassadors for your sports programs. I want to start with Allyson to just show her sports page. I guess every athlete at the school has their own page, and they talk about where you're from. And where it says event free, that means the freestyle. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Right. And how did you become a swimmer? How did you decide to go from just kind of playing around in the pool to make this your athletic pursuit?
So overall, as a kid growing up, I was always very athletic. My parents put me in swim lessons when I was young, and I just naturally gravitated towards it. I just found it enjoyable to stare at a black line for 2 hours, apparently. And it was honestly the best decision I ever made. I've made some of my closest friends through it, and it's gotten me to where I am today. I'm so grateful to be here and at Stony Brook right now, because it would definitely be a lot harder for me to be here right now if I wasn't swimming, because swimming helps me keep a schedule with my school as well. It keeps me on track. So when I don't swim, my grades tend to drop. So it just naturally helps me be a better all-around person and student.
Wow, that's great to hear. And I know Patrick is happy to hear that as well, that the student and the studying in student and the athlete that comes together so well, I think is really important. Rose Horowitz is watching, one of our producers. Good to hear from SBU students. My son is one of the captains of WashU in St. Louis, but they haven't opened the pool yet. So he says, I'm surprised to hear that they've been swimming at Stony Brook. WashU closed the campus a few days before some members of the swim team were due to go to the Nationals. So is there something about swimming that makes it less or more likely to be open, Patrick? And how did you all make that decision?
I mean, every state's kind of in a different situation. From some schools, some states, some things are open. And I mean, if you hear the news, you can just listen, in a way, what the different rules in each state are. I mean, here in New York, we're allowed to be open. So, we'll be training,
All right. Tell us how you decided to pursue this career as an athletic trainer. What does that put you in line to do? I'm seeing your website, you got a BS in athletic training from Marquette, and then a master's in leadership studies, specializing in sports leadership. So talk about that career path.
Yeah, so my undergrad degree was at the University of Pittsburgh. I was originally going to go physical therapy, and this was kind of a good segue into that. Didn't end up going into physical therapy, but I loved athletic training and dealing with the healthcare of athletes. They're a very special group and a very motivated group, which definitely helps with my job. They're a fun group to work with. So yeah, I mean, in undergrad, it's kind of the path I chose, and then I went to Marquette and worked at Marquette for a few years. While at Marquette, I got my master's, and then recently came to Stony Brook. Originally being from the East Coast, it was nice to come back home.
Nice. Do you recommend this as a way for people who don't want to play sports professionally, as a way of kind of being in and around sports?
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of, you don't necessarily have to be an athlete or a great athlete to work in athletics. I mean, it's it's a great way to continue to be around athletics and be around athletes. Again, my athletic career stopped after high school, but being able to work within athletics and especially a Division I athletic program, it's a lot of fun. It's kind of a great honor to be at Stony Brook and to be working with the type of athletes and the high caliber athletes that I work with.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just as we're kind of winding up here, I do want to ask you about this world of athletics. We're folks watching in other countries where this sports isn't kind of college sports isn't as big as it is perhaps here. And places like Marquette and other places you've been. How big is sports and how important is sports to the university environment?
Yeah, sports, it's my whole life. It's a lot of people. People love sports. People love their college sports. People have kind of an allegiance to their sports everywhere I've been. It's, you're not walking down the street and not seeing a Seawolf banner here. Or, when I was in Milwaukee, it was Marquette stuff. When I was in Pittsburgh, a lot of Pitt stuff. And it wasn't just Pitt stuff. It's Pitt stuff, West Virginia, Penn State. Same thing here. You see all these sport logos constantly everywhere, and a lot of them are college sport logos. And you have a sense of pride in a team. Right now, I have that pride for Stony Brook and for Stony Brook athletics, and it brings people together. And I think it's especially important during this time to have that allegiance to and have like a following for a sport team, because again, it's something you look forward to.
Thank you, Patrick. And over to you, Allyson. Tell us about your advice for young people who are in high school and thinking about taking up sports as they go into college.
My advice is just never give up. So, as Chris mentioned earlier, I am a transfer. I initially swam at the Division III level, which is one of the lowest levels of athletics in all of college. And I wasn't discouraged by that because I felt that I was a good enough swimmer to be able to make it and swim at a Division I level. So I just continued to put in the work, and I eventually was able to get here. So my advice to all the high school athletes out there, put in the work. If you really want to be an athlete in college, you know that you have to put in the work day in, day out. Do those extra practices while people aren't looking. That's what's going to be able to make the difference for those people.
I love that. Like, you got to put in the work, not just when your coach is looking, but for yourself, right? That's really important. And I know Patrick likes hearing that, right? Before we let you go, what are your hopes for this particular year in the competitive side, Allyson? And what are your personal kind of records or a personal best that you're trying to beat? What's on your radar?
My hope is that I'm able to just help the team. I know that I'm not currently the fastest person on the team. My goal is just to be able to get into my races and just help the team score some points and win races and win meets. Like, that's my goal. If I can snag a personal best in a race, that's great. But I'm here to help the team win meets. Like, that's the goal.
Love that. Love hearing that. Maheen says these discussions are eye-opening as someone who isn't involved in sports on campus. Thank you for sharing. And and Apollo says, this is a great show and I encourage you all. So thank you very much. Patrick, your suggestions for folks, and also in your case, I'd love to hear, what are you working on? And I know even people who are not on the field are always trying to get better at what they do. So what are you going to work on this year?
Yeah, honestly, and one of the best parts about the whole quarantine part was just being able to learn more. There was a lot a lot of time that we usually spent either at practice or with athletes that, again, was taken away from us, but we didn't just use that as free time. A lot of people, we did some continuing education. A lot of different conferences were set for us to learn a lot more. So that was kind of the best part, at least professionally, that came out of quarantine, was being able to learn more. And again, learning about everything, not learning about, more about infectious diseases, learning more about COVID-19, but also just learning more about, how to better myself professionally, and kind of working towards figuring out, again, more rehab techniques, more knowledge for myself as an athletic trainer and as a professional.
Excellent. And tell me your sport in high school.
So I played soccer, and then I wrestled in high school.
Aren't those two different body types that you need to be successful in each of those sports?
Oh, yeah. I wasn't good at either, so it's okay.
Well, thank you, Patrick, and thank you, Allyson. I learned a lot. I know our audience did. You were both very refreshing and candid about your work and your pursuit. And I love talking to athletes and people who work with athletes. So this is perfect for me tonight. Thank you very much to both of you, and good luck in all you're doing. Allyson, do you have an Instagram or Twitter or anything you'd like to tell people about?
Yes, my Instagram is ARK11_open_water.
ARK11_open water. So this is beyond the pool. This is about the open water. Do you do that kind of swimming, like the distance stuff too?
Yes, that is actually where I've had the most success in my career, is in the open water.
That sounds much more dangerous than.
Oh.
And are there such things as sea wolves in the water? Is a question that I need to know.
I'll pass that one off to Patrick.
I believe there are. As
maybe off of Long Island Sound, maybe. Patrick, are you on the social media channels? Only if you want to give out an address. You don't have to.
No, I mean, I honestly, I don't even check social media too much anymore.
All right. You're concentrating on your work. I'm so grateful to both of you. Thank you very much, Patrick and Allyson. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. And wasn't that fun? So what we're doing, folks, is, just so you all understand, is we are going to, every week, 1 or 2 or 3 days, we will have my students in our digital innovation course program the class, the episode. And there you see the Stony Brook journalism episodes. My students will be producing several episodes in the next few weeks. And today they were produced by Jake Basile, Chris Cumella, and Michael Panagiotopoulos. And so we're grateful to all three of them for putting this together. It's not easy to be the first 3 students to step up or the first 2 guests to step up. So thank you very much. Tomorrow we'll have another student produced episode, and then we're going back to our regular schedule, and we're going to do an episode about the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We already did something within 2 hours of her passing on Friday, but we're going to do a bigger episode on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you all for being here. Before we go, we have to do 2 things. We have to thank our sponsors, and we have to say their names. As those of you who watch on a regular basis know, that we talked to Professor Kimberly Crenshaw, the great Columbia Law School professor who coined the term intersectionality. We asked her, what can we do to be allies of Black folks in the middle of all of this? And she said, say their names. So I am going to do that right now. And please join me as we say their names. I use this cover of Time magazine. You can see the names around that painting by Titus Kaffer. You see the mother with the child taken away. You see the blue glove of the pandemic. And on the right, you see a young Larcinia Floyd with her son, George. She would die 2 years, almost to the day that he was murdered, killed on video tape in Minneapolis. Now they are buried next to each other in Houston. And now I will say the names that were along the border of that Time magazine. They are Trayvon Martin, Yvette Smith, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Laquan McDonald, Tanisha Anderson, Akai Gurley, Tamir Rice, Jerame Reed, Natasha McKenna, Eric Harris, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, William Chapman, Sandra Bland, Darius Stewart, Samuel DuBose, Janet Wilson, Kaylin Rockmore, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile. I'm going to pause on Philando's name because that's a name you've heard. Sadly, many of these names are household names. And sadly, many of them are names you've never heard of. And each one of these people had lives and loves and a story. Joseph Mann, Terrence Crutcher, Chad Robertson, Jordan Edwards, Aaron Bailey, Stefan Clark, Danny Ray Thomas, Antoine Rose, Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson, Michael Dean, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. Thank you for joining me as I said their names, and we do that here every single day. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support of this show. Please tag and share with your friends. They can watch the recording as soon as we're off the air. You can watch the recording, and we'd love your feedback to having students help direct and run these shows. And they're so good that I could be out of work thanks to their great work. And you're going to see that was the very first episode that they did. Vandana Rose and I are doing our episode number 195, but the students are learning. And of course, that's always an adventure. Thanks again to our sponsors at nonbelievable.com. We are grateful to them for their support. And please check out nonbelievable.com, divinely delicious cookies on a mission. Big thanks to Charles Cunnincarroll, the inventor in you, a step-by-step guide to your first invention. He's a developer of more than 80 patents at Inventor Charles and guide to invention.com. And finally, big thanks to our friends at Muckrack and Muckrack Academy for Fundamentals of Social Media, a free on-demand certification course that more than 4,000 people have taken. And here are just some of the certificates and pictures. It's at mrac.co/social. Thanks very much, everybody. Let's look at some of the comments that have come in. Mark Lee has popped in for a quick minute. Mark is a big Marquette supporter, so he'll be happy to know that we had a Marquette colleague on the show. Let's see who else is here. And great conversation as always. He says, we celebrated International Day of Peace earlier today, and I'd hoped to join Mark to participate, but my day got filled up. Mondays, I'm finding, I don't know how the rest of you, Mondays I'm finding are extra busy because people are catching up from the weekend. And it's great to have everyone's comments here. And Manuel, watching from Spain, sends 2 hearts and a wave. So we'll take that. And thank you very much, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. If you would like to know when we're on the air, the best thing you can do is to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Sreenet, and just hit that subscribe button. The other thing you can do is use your QR code reader to take a look at this QR code. It is a very easy way to find out what's happening. I will send you a WhatsApp alert when I am live. It is not a WhatsApp group. It's a gentle alert to say we are live. So you can use that if you like. But thank you so much, everybody. And we appreciate your time and your energy.